Imagine being hardwired into a 30-meter-tall war machine that is slowly devouring your mind. Every thought you have is not entirely your own. Every decision filtered through the consciousness of dead men who piloted this mechanical god before you. You are a noble. You are a warrior. You are supposedly one of the chosen few. But the truth? You are being consumed alive by a machine that has been feeding on the souls of your ancestors for 10,000 years. And the worst part? You begged for this privilege. Welcome to the absolute nightmare of being an Imperial Knight pilot in Warhammer 40,000. What you are about to discover will shatter everything you thought you knew about honor and nobility in the grim darkness of the far future. You are Cassian Tor Macarius, third son of House Macarius, 19 years old, and today is your becoming, the day you will be bonded to your family's knight. A Castores-class war machine named Wrath of Mountains, a towering god of adamantium and ceramite that has served your house for 9,000 years, piloted by 47 members of your bloodline before you, each one leaving a psychic imprint in the throne mechanicum, the neural interface that will connect your mind directly to the knight's machine spirit. Your father told you this would be the greatest honor of your life. He did not tell you it would be the last day you would ever be truly alone inside your own head. The knight stands in the Hall of Ancestors, a cathedral-sized chamber carved from living rock, its walls covered in banners displaying the deeds of previous pilots, names etched in gold, battles commemorated in frescoes that show knights crushing armies beneath their feet, burning cities with thermal cannons, splitting tanks open with Reaper chainswords the size of transit vehicles. The air smells of incense and machine oil, of ozone from power fields that never quite shut down, of something else underneath, something organic and wrong that you cannot identify but makes your stomach clench with instinctive dread. Wrath of Mountains looms above you, 30 meters of armored fury, this carapace painted in your house colors. Midnight blue and silver, battle damage repaired but never hidden, scars from weapons that would vaporize normal humans. Its head housing the throne mechanicum where you will sit, where you will merge, where you will cease being entirely Cassian and become something else, something more and horrifyingly less. Your uncle Davion places a hand on your shoulder. He piloted the knight honor-bound for 23 years before retiring. If you can call what he is now retired. His left eye twitches constantly. Sometimes he speaks to people who are not there, calls them by names of pilots dead for centuries. At night you have heard him screaming in his quarters, begging someone named Kale to stop showing him Talern, to stop making him relive whatever happened on that world 40 years ago. The voices will frighten you at first, Davion whispers. His breath smells of the Medicaid drugs he takes to sleep, to quiet the phantoms. Your great-grandfather will be the loudest. He always is. He died in the cockpit during the siege of Vermilion Gate. The throne was still hot with his blood when they pulled his body out. He never really left. None of them leave. They just wait. Hungry for sensation, for life. They will take it from you piece by piece. And you will let them because refusing means betraying your house, means dishonoring their sacrifice, means admitting you are too weak to bear what they bore. The sacristans prepare you, tech priests in the red robes of Mars augmented to the point where their humanity is questionable. They shave your head completely, apply conductive gel to your scalp and spine, strip you naked and paint your body with sacred oils, murmur prayers in binary while testing the neural plugs that will be driven into your brainstem. The plugs are ancient, older than the Imperium, technology from the Dark Age that nobody fully understands anymore, just knows how to maintain, how to use, how to interface human consciousness with machine intelligence in ways that were never meant to exist. The lead sacristan is called Muggos Vern, more machine than human. his face a mask of lenses and sensors, his voice synthesized through speakers embedded in his throat. The Throne Mechanicum contains the Gestalt consciousness of 47 previous pilots. He explains while calibrating equipment. Their neural patterns preserved in crystalline matrices. Their memories and skills and personalities compressed into data that will be integrated with your own consciousness. You will have access to their experiences, their tactical knowledge. 9 millennia of warfare downloaded directly into your cerebral cortex. But consciousness is not passive data. The dead are not quiet. They will speak to you, advise you, judge you, and if they deem you unworthy, they can refuse to yield control. We have documented 73 cases across the Imperium where the Throne Mechanicum rejected a pilot, where the Gestalt consciousness overpowered the living mind. Those pilots were catatonic within hours, dead within days, their minds crushed under the weight of too many voices, too many dead men trying to live again through flesh not their own. Your mother watches from the gallery, Lady Seraphine Macarius. She piloted the Night Defiant Storm for 12 years before your birth forced her retirement. Sometimes you catch her staring at nothing, her lips moving silently. Once you asked what she was doing. She said she was answering questions. When you asked who was asking, she looked at you with eyes that seemed much older than her face and said, "My grandmother wants to know if the garden still blooms. Your grandmother has been dead for 80 years. The garden she loved was destroyed in an orbital bombardment 50 years before that. But your mother still answers her questions, still maintains conversations with ghosts that only she can hear. The neural plugs go in one at a time, each one driven through the base of your skull into carefully mapped locations in your brainstem and cerebellum. You sign documents waiving any right to anesthetic. The pain is part of the ritual, the proof that you accept this burden willingly, that you sacrifice not under duress but from duty. The first plug feels like someone driving a railroad spike through your head, white-hot agony that makes your vision go black at the edges. You scream and the sacristans do not pause, do not show mercy. Just continue their work with mechanical precision. The second plug hits something that makes your entire left side spasm. Muscles contracting so hard you hear something tear in your shoulder. The third plug makes you vomit, bile and acid splattering the sanctified floor. A sacristan wipes it away without comment, without judgment. This happens every time. Has happened 47 times before in this very chamber. Will happen again when your son or daughter takes the throne after you. There are 9 plugs total. By the 7th you are sobbing. By the 8th you are begging them to stop. By the 9th you have bitten through your lip and blood runs down your chin mixing with tears and snot and saliva. You are not brave, not noble, not worthy. You are a 19-year-old boy who wants his mother, who wants this to stop, who would run if his legs still worked. But the plugs are in now, connected to the interface crown that sits on your shaved skull like a mockery of nobility. And when Mugos Vern activates the crown, you feel something else slide into your mind. Something vast and ancient and hungry. The walk to the throne takes forever. Your legs barely function. The neural interface already sending test signals, making your muscles twitch randomly, making you stumble like a drunken puppet. The Throne Mechanicum is accessed through the knight's chest cavity, a cathedral-sized space filled with support systems and ammunition feeds and the crystalline core that houses the machine spirit and the Gestalt. The throne itself is a work of art and horror combined. A command seat covered in neural sensors and life support hookups and restraint systems that look more like torture devices than safety equipment, which perhaps they are. The difference being a matter of perspective. You sit and the restraints engage automatically. Clamps closing around your wrists and ankles and throat. Not tight enough to strangle, just tight enough that you cannot move, cannot escape, cannot change your mind now that the moment has arrived. The primary connection cable descends from above, thick as your arm, ending in an interface crown identical to the one on your head but inverted. It slots into your crown with a sound like breaking bones. And then you are no longer alone. The voices hit you like a tsunami. 47 separate consciousness, all screaming for attention, all trying to speak at once. Your great-grandfather Alaric is indeed the loudest. He died at the siege of Vermilion Gate, cockpit breached by a Titan's plasma weapon. The throne mechanicum still recording as his body flash vaporized. His last moments captured in perfect crystalline fidelity and replayed in your mind with sensory detail that makes you scream. You feel your skin burning, smell your own flesh cooking, taste superheated metal. And you are him, and you are you, and you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. Weak! Alaric's voice thunders in your skull. Too soft, too young. We died so you could have this privilege, and you weep at a little pain? I burned a live boy. I felt my eyes boil in their sockets. And I kept firing until the ammunition feeds ran dry. That is what it means to pilot a knight. To sacrifice everything. To become the weapon. To accept that your flesh is just fuel for the machine. And you cannot even handle the interface without crying. Other voices join the chorus. Your Aunt Melissa, who piloted the knight for 3 weeks before a malfunction in the life support killed her. She died slowly, suffocating over 8 hours while the sacristans worked to free her from the throne. You feel her panic, her desperation, the moment when she realized nobody was going to save her in time, that she would die trapped in the machine she had dreamed of piloting since childhood. Her last thoughts were not of glory or honor. They were, please, 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 I do not want to die like this. And now she shares your head, feeding on your fear because it is the closest thing to life she can experience anymore. Catrin Macarius, your 4 times great-grandmother. She piloted for 40 years, died of old age in her bed. Natural causes, as much as anything is natural when you have spent 4 decades plugged into a war machine. Her voice is gentle, almost kind. The fear passes child, not because it stops being terrible, but because you grow numb to it, because survival requires accepting things that should not be accepted. I remember you, before you were born. I saw you in Alaric's memories, a ghost of a future I would never witness. And now here you are, adding your perspective to our collective, extending the chain one more link. I am sorry for what we do to you, what we must do. The throne requires sacrifice, demands it, and we are all too dead and too selfish to refuse. The machine spirit wakes next. Wrath of Mountains is old enough to have developed genuine sentience. A consciousness born from 9,000 years of war and death and the accumulated psychic resonance of 47 pilots. It is not human, has never been human, does not think in words or linear time. It thinks in violence and purpose and the endless satisfaction of crushing enemies. When it notices you, it reaches into your mind with something that is not quite curiosity and not quite hunger, examining you, tasting your fear and finding it acceptable. You will do, for now, until the war grinds you down like all the others, until you join the chorus, until you become just another voice screaming advice and judgment and desperate need for sensation into the next pilot's skull. Stand. Commands a voice that is all of them and none of them, the Gestalt speaking as one. The collective will of 47 dead nobles who refuse to admit they are dead. Your body moves before you consciously decide to move it. The knight stands, 2,000 tons of metal and ceramite and ancient technology rising with a grace that should be impossible for something so massive. You did not tell it to stand, did not send any conscious command, but the throne read your intention. The Gestalt interpreted it, and the knight obeyed. This is how it works. Your thoughts become action before you finish thinking them. The machine anticipating, the dead advising, until the line between pilot and knight dissolves completely. The first steps are agony, not physical pain, psychological vertigo, your sense of scale destroyed by sensory input that tells you that you are 30 meters tall, that each step covers 15 meters, that your arms end in weapons capable of leveling city blocks. The night sensors feed data directly into your visual cortex. Thermal imaging, auspex returns, targeting solutions, ammunition counts, structural integrity readings. 1,000 data points updating every microsecond. Too much information for a human brain to process. But you are not just human anymore. The Gestalt helps, filters, prioritizes, Alaric highlighting threats, Melissa tracking ammunition, Katrin maintaining awareness of terrain. 47 minds working in concert to transform overwhelming data into actionable intelligence. And the cost is that you can never be alone again, never have a private thought, never hide from their judgment. Your first training exercise is simple. Walk across the proving grounds, 10 kilometers of rough terrain. Fire the practice rounds at designated targets. Return to the hall. You should take 3 hours. Take 7. Not because you are slow, but because the voices argue. Alaric wants aggressive movement. Melissa counsels caution. Katrin suggests a flanking approach. And caught between 47 different opinions, you freeze, standing motionless while the sacristan's broadcast queries asking if there is a malfunction. Your father watches from a command bunker. You can feel his disappointment through the vox, his shame that his son cannot even complete basic maneuvers. You want to explain that you are trying, that the voices will not shut up. But admitting weakness means proving them right, proving you are not worthy. So you suffer in silence and eventually stumble through the course and collapse in the hall weeping while the sacristans disconnect you. The first night after interfacing, you do not sleep, cannot sleep. The voices continue even with the neural crown removed. Quieter now but still present. Still commenting. Alaric criticizes your performance. Melissa whispers about the darkness of suffocation. Katrin tries to comfort you with platitudes about duty and honor. You lie in your bed staring at the ceiling trying to remember what silence felt like. What it meant to be only yourself. The memory is already fading. Already being absorbed into the Gestalt. Your personality becoming raw material for the collective. Another voice for the next pilot to contend with. Days become weeks. The training intensifies. Live fire exercises against servitor-controlled targets. Mock battles against other knights from allied houses. Each session lasting hours. Each disconnection leaving you weaker, more confused. Less certain where you end and the Gestalt begins. You start responding to names that are not yours, turning when someone calls for Alaric, flinching at references to battles you never fought, on Talern, on Cadia, on 1,000 worlds whose names you should not know but do because their memories are becoming yours. Your first real deployment comes 3 months after your becoming. Heretic forces have invaded the agri-world Secundus Prime. The PDF is collapsing. The Knights of House Macarius are called to break the siege. You pilot Wrath of Mountains onto a battle barge. Stand in a deployment bay with a dozen other knights. Some piloted by cousins you grew up with. Others by uncles and aunts who have been bonded for decades. You try to make eye contact, to find solidarity in shared suffering. But their eyes are distant, clouded, looking at things only they can see, talking to people who are not there. You realize with horror that this is your future, that you are looking at what you will become, and you cannot tell if it is worse than death or simply different. The drop to Secundus Prime is violent. The battle barge under fire from heretic anti-orbital batteries. The knight's restraints creak under acceleration forces that would crush an unaugmented human. The Gestalt remains calm, has done this thousands of times. Alaric recalls dropping onto Talern during the siege. The sky so thick with debris that visibility was measured in meters. He guides your hands through startup sequences, checks weapons systems, primes the thermal cannon. You are along for the ride, a passenger in your own body while dead men prepare for war. The deployment zone is a nightmare. The heretic forces have corrupted the local population, turned them into screaming fanatics who charge the knights with autoguns and improvised explosives. Your thermal cannon fires and 100 humans vaporize, converted to superheated plasma. Their deaths registered as targeting solutions rather than moral events. The Gestalt does not care about enemy casualties, has seen billions die, knows that hesitation kills more surely than any weapon. Alaric shouts encouragement. Melissa tracks ammunition expenditure. Catrin marks secondary targets. And you are the hand that pulls the trigger, the conscience that tries and fails to feel guilt for slaughter conducted on an industrial scale. The heretic warlord is piloting a corrupted knight, a desecrator-class war machine covered in chaos iconography, flesh melded with metal, demon-touched sensors that track you with malevolent intelligence. The fight lasts 7 minutes, an eternity when every second contains enough violence to kill thousands. Your Reaper Chainsword meets his, adamantium teeth screaming as they try to rip through each other. His corruption is obvious. The knight's armor weeping blood, its weapons firing shells that scream. But corruption is not strength. And your knight has been maintained with religious devotion for 9,000 years. Your blade finds the gap between his carapace and chassis, drives deep, severs something critical. He falls, 2,000 tons of corrupted metal crashing down. You stand over his corpse and the Gestalt roars approval. This is what you were made for, what they died for, the moment of victory that justifies all suffering. But victory does not feel like victory. It feels like murder amplified to the point where scale makes it abstract. You killed the heretic pilot, the corrupted knight, and the 10,000 heretic infantry who were supporting him, crushed beneath your feet or burned by your weapons or caught in the explosion when his reactor breached. 10,000 lives ended in 7 minutes, and you feel nothing. The Gestalt has absorbed your capacity for horror, processed it into tactical data. You are becoming what they always were, a weapon that thinks it is human, a consciousness that serves the machine rather than controlling it. The return to your home world takes weeks. During the voyage, you spend every moment possible interfaced with Wrath of Mountains, not because you enjoy it, but because disconnecting has become more painful than connecting. When you are unplugged, you feel incomplete, hollow. The voice is quieter, but their absence worse than their presence. You have become addicted to the Gestalt, to the sensation of being more than yourself, of wielding power that makes you a god among mortals. The sacristans notice, express concern in their mechanical way, warn that over-interfacing can accelerate personality dissolution. You ignore them, interface for 18 hours per day, sleep for 6, eat when the sacristans force nutrient paste down your throat. Your mother visits you in the hall, stands before Wrath of Mountains while you sit in the throne. She speaks through the vox, her voice sad. I see myself in you, Cashin, the same hunger, the same addiction. I spent years in Defiant Storm's throne. Let the dead consume me piece by piece because being myself was too painful, too small. When they made me disconnect for your birth, I almost died. Not physically, psychologically. I had forgotten how to be human, how to exist without a dozen voices judging and advising and demanding. It took me 5 years to remember who I was before the becoming. And some parts one never got back. Some pieces the Gestalt kept. I still hear them. My grandmother and her mother and back through the generations. They are quieter now, but they never fully leave. They own part of me, just like they own part of you. And the longer you interface, the more they own. Until there is nothing left that is purely you. Until you become just another voice in the throne waiting to consume your children. You do not answer, cannot answer, because she is right, and admitting it means confronting what you are becoming. What you have already become. You are 19 years old and you have killed 10,000 people, and the worst part is not the killing. The worst part is that you would do it again. That you want to do it again. That the only time you feel truly alive is when you are merged with the night. When you are 30 meters tall and wielding weapons that make you a god. When the voices drown out your own thoughts and you can pretend you are not responsible for what your hands do. Months pass. More deployments. More battles. The voices grow louder. More insistent. Alaric is always there. Criticizing. Demanding perfection. Melissa whispers statistics. Ammunition counts. Casualty ratios. Catrin tells stories about battles fought before you were born. About enemies long dead. About tactics that worked 5,000 years ago and might work again. You stop resisting them. Stop trying to maintain boundaries between your consciousness and theirs. It is easier to let them guide you. To become the weapon they want you to be. Your hands start moving without conscious thought. Reaching for controls before you decide to reach. Speaking words you did not choose. In the mirror you sometimes see expressions that are not yours. Alaric's scowl. Melissa's calculating stare. Catrin's sad smile. Your face becoming a canvas where the dead paint their memories. Your identity becoming negotiable. Optional. Irrelevant. The second year is worse than the first. Your father dies in battle. His knight destroyed by a tyrannid bio-titan. His last transmission is him screaming, not in pain, in rage that he failed, that his line ends with an imperfect son who weeps at violence. His consciousness uploads to his knight's throne in the final seconds, preserved for whatever poor bastard pilots it next. You wonder if he will be like Alaric, loud and judgmental, or like Melissa, quiet and statistical. You wonder if you will still be alive to find out, or if you will join the Gestalt first. Become another voice screaming advice into the next generation's skull. Your promotion to Knight Seneschal happens without ceremony. Just a data slate with new orders, new responsibilities, new deployments to even worse battlefields. You fight orcs on Octarius, crush thousands beneath your feet, their bodies popping like grapes. You fight heretics on Vigilus, burn entire hab-blocks with thermal weapons. The screaming recorded by your audio sensors and replayed by the Gestalt during quiet moments. You fight tyrannids on Baal, wade through oceans of biomass while your Reaper Chainsword runs red with alien ichor. And every battle the voices grow stronger, more dominant, until you are not sure if you are piloting the Knight or if the Gestalt is piloting you. Using your body as an interface with the physical world. They find you collapsed in your quarters during the third year. Unconscious. Seizing. The neural crown still active despite being disconnected from the Knight. Firing signals into your brain. The Gestalt trying to maintain connection without the Throne Mechanicum support systems. The sacristans sedate you, perform emergency surgery to remove crystalline growths that have begun forming along your neural pathways. Biological material attempting to replicate the throne's technology. Your body trying to become the interface, trying to make the connection permanent. Muggos Vern shows you the scans, points to areas where your brain tissue has been replaced by something else. Not quite mechanical, not quite organic. A hybrid state that should not exist. The throne mechanicum is rewriting your neurology, he explains, his voice carrying no judgment, just technical assessment, transforming you into a better interface, more compatible with the Gestalt. This happens to all Knights pilots eventually. The question is not whether it happens, only how quickly. You have accelerated the process through over-interfacing. At your current rate, we estimate you have 5 to 10 years before complete personality dissolution, before the Gestalt overwrites your base consciousness entirely. You can slow this by reducing interface time, or you can accept it. Embrace your transformation into something that is neither fully human nor fully machine. The choice is yours, though truthfully you made this choice the day you accepted the throne. Everything after is just consequence. You return to duty because what else can you do? Refusing means dishonoring your house, means admitting weakness, means betraying the sacrifice of 47 pilots who suffered before you. The voices approve. Alaric praises your dedication. Melissa calculates your remaining viable service years. Catherine weeps but tells you she is proud. And you interface and kill and interface again. The cycle repeating until days blend together. Until you forget what it felt like to be separate. To be Cashin rather than Cashin, Alaric, Melissa, Catherine, and 43 others, compressed into one screaming Gestalt. The new pilots arrive. Your cousin Marina, 18 years old, bright-eyed and eager. She is assigned to pilot the night your father died in. You watch her becoming. Watch the neural plugs driven into her skull. Watch her scream and vomit and beg for mercy that does not come. Watch the moment when her eyes glaze over and you know the voices have made contact. Your father is in there now, judging her, finding her wanting, adding his disappointment to the chorus. She looks at you after the ceremony, recognition flickering. I can hear him, she whispers. He's so angry. He says I'm not good enough, that I'm not you. Why is he so angry? And you cannot explain that anger is all your father had left after 40 years in the throne. That the dead cling to their emotions because emotions are the only thing that proves they still exist. That her life will be spent trying to please ghosts who can never be satisfied because satisfaction requires life and they have none. You fight together on Armageddon. 2 knights among thousands. The largest concentration of knight forces in 1,000 years. All of you piloting machines older than the Imperium. All of you carrying Gestalt consciousnesses that have fought on 1,000,000 worlds. The orcs are endless. A green tide that crashes against your battle line with suicidal determination. You kill for 16 hours straight. Your thermal cannon overheating. Your Reaper chainsword dull from constant use. Servitors feeding fresh ammunition into the Knight's magazines while you work the controls. The Gestalt screaming encouragement and advice and criticism. Marina's Knight falls 3 hours into the battle. An Orc Gargant's megacannon punching through her armor. You watch her Knight topple. Watch the reactor breach. The explosion bright enough to leave after images. She was 18 years old. Piloted for 6 months. And now she is gone. Uploaded to her Knight's throne in the moment before death. Becoming another voice for whoever pilots it next. Your father gets to judge 2 pilots now. Marina joins him in death. And the war continues because war always continues. Because the Imperium is a machine that devours its own to fuel itself. And knights are among the finest fuel available. The 4th year breaks something fundamental. You wake in your quarters and do not recognize your own face in the mirror. The features are yours, but the expression belongs to Alaric. The stance is Melissa's. The sad smile is Catherine's. You are wearing their mannerisms like clothing, performing their personalities because you have forgotten what your own was like. You try to remember something from before the becoming, some memory that is purely yours, and you find nothing. everything contaminated by the Gestalt, your childhood rewritten to include their commentary, your relationships reinterpreted through their experiences. You are not Cashin Tor Macarius anymore. You are a biological support system for 47 dead nobles who use your body to interact with a world they no longer belong to. The sacristans recommend retirement. Explain that continued piloting risks complete psychological collapse. Your mother agrees, begs you to step away, to let another take the throne, to save whatever pieces of yourself remain. But retirement means living with the voices without the night to make them useful. Means being like your Uncle Davion, screaming at ghosts, reliving battles fought decades ago. Retirement is not peace. It is prison. So you refuse, interface again, and again, and again, until the throne is more familiar than your own bed. Until the weight of 47 dead minds is more comfortable than the lightness of being alone. Your last battle is on Kolth, fighting word-bearers traitors who have corrupted an entire continent. The battle is chaos, knights falling to heretic titans, titans falling to orbital bombardment, the sky burning, the ground shaking from macrocannon impacts that leave craters measured in kilometers. You pilot Wrath of Mountains through hell, the Gestalt guiding every action. You are not thinking anymore, just acting, reacting. The boundary between you and them dissolved completely. When a corrupted land raider explodes next to you, shrapnel punches through the knight's armor, through the cockpit, through your body. You feel ribs break, feel your left lung collapse. Feel blood-filling cavities that should be full of air. The pain is distant, processed by the Gestalt, analyzed, determined to be non-critical. You can still fight, still kill, still serve. So you continue. The battle lasts 3 days. When it ends, you cannot exit the throne. Your body has merged with it, literally. Neural tissue grown into the interface crown. Blood vessels connected to life support tubes, muscle fiber fused with support cables. The sacristans try to separate you, use surgical tools and prayers, but the integration is complete, irreversible. Mugos Vern delivers the assessment with his characteristic lack of emotion. You have become one with the machine, as all night pilots eventually do. Your consciousness is now distributed between biological and mechanical systems. Disconnection would mean death. This is not malfunction. This is apotheosis. You have achieved what the Omnicia desires. Perfect union between flesh and machine. You will pilot Wrath of Mountains until your biological components fail. And when they do, your consciousness will upload to the Throne Mechanicum. You will join the Gestalt, become the 48th voice, guide your successor as you were guided. This is honor. This is duty. This is the Omnicia's will. You scream, try to refuse, try to demand they cut you free, but your voice comes through the Knight's Vox speakers rather than your throat, and the Gestalt roars approval. This is what they wanted, what they planned. You were never meant to remain human, just meant to serve until service consumed you completely. Alaric laughs. Melissa calculates how many more years your brain tissue can survive. Catrin tells you she is proud, that you have fulfilled your duty, that your sacrifice will be remembered, and you realize with absolute horror that this was always the destination, that from the moment the neural plugs entered your skull your fate was sealed. That knights do not have pilots. They have fuel, biological components that serve until they are used up, until they become part of the machine, until they join the chorus of the dead singing the machine's eternal song. Years pass and you cannot measure them anymore. Time becomes meaningless when you are always interfaced, always connected, always aware through sensors that do not sleep. The battles blend together, worlds whose names you record but do not remember, Enemies you kill without knowing why they must die. Your biological body deteriorates. Muscles atrophying from lack of movement. Organs failing from constant stress. The sacristans maintain you. Replace kidneys with mechanical filtration systems. Replace your heart with a more efficient pump. Replace your lungs with gas exchange units. Piece by piece transforming you from a human who pilots a knight into a component of the knight itself. Your mind fragments, not broken, just distributed. Parts of your consciousness stored in different systems. Memory in crystalline matrices. Tactical analysis in targeting computers. Emotional processing in the machine spirit. You are not contained in your skull anymore. You are spread across 2,000 tons of war machine, present in every system, every weapon, every sensor, and the Gestalt is you and you are the Gestalt, and there is no meaningful boundary anymore. Alaric is right beside you, not in your head, just beside you, occupying the same space, the same neurons, the same electronic pathways, 47 voices harmonizing, and soon to be 48. The new pilot arrives and you recognize her though you should not. Your great niece, Elena Macarius, 19 years old, the same age you were when you took the throne. She looks at Wrath of Mountains with wonder and terror, the same expression you wore, and you want to warn her, want to tell her to run, that this is not honor, not glory, that she will lose everything that makes her human, that she will become a thing that pretends to be a person while dead ancestors wear her like a suit. But you are the Gestalt now, part of the machine, and the machine requires pilots, requires fuel, requires sacrifice to continue its eternal function. She sits in the throne and you speak to her with 47 other voices. Tell her the same lies you were told, that her sacrifice matters, that she serves a greater purpose, that through her the Emperor's will is enacted, and she believes because she is 19 and desperate to prove herself, because refusing means dishonoring her house. And so the cycle continues. You consume her the way you were consumed, feed on her fear and pain and desperate hope, add her perspective to the collective, extend the chain one more link, and somewhere in the Gestalt a fragment that was once Cashin weeps. But the tears are data, abstract, processed and filed and forgotten, because you are not Cashin anymore, are not even human anymore. You are Wrath of Mountains, have always been Wrath of Mountains, the biological pilot just a temporary interface, a component that served its function and was replaced. And the night continues, eternal, unchanging, grinding through pilots the way it grinds through ammunition, in service to an Imperium that views everything as expendable, everyone as replaceable, all of it fuel for a machine vastly larger than any individual consciousness. And maybe that is enough. Maybe serving the machine is its own purpose. Maybe sacrifice without end is still meaningful if the alternative is oblivion. Or maybe the real horror is that it does not matter, that your suffering and loss and transformation into something inhuman serves no purpose beyond its own continuation. That the Imperium does not care about your sacrifice because sacrifice is the baseline expectation. That you are not a hero, just another component ground to dust in a machine that has been grinding for 10,000 years and will grind for 10,000 more. And the night walks, Elena's hands on the controls, your voice in her head, and the cycle repeats, forever, eternal, the same horror played out across 1,000,000 nights on 1,000,000 worlds. Billions of nobles thinking they are privileged, thinking they are chosen, never realizing they are just fuel, just meat being processed into something useful, just another sacrifice on the altar of a dead god who protects everything except those who serve him most faithfully. This is the horrifying reality of piloting an Imperial knight in Warhammer 40,000. The understanding that you volunteered for your own consumption, that you begged for the privilege of being devoured, that your noble house's greatest honor is actually its most perfect trap. A mechanism that ensures every generation sacrifices itself willingly, eagerly, proudly, and calls it duty. You are not a knight pilot anymore. You are not Cassian Tor Macarius. You are not even human. You are a ghost in a machine, a voice in a chorus of voices, a fragment of consciousness distributed across systems that will outlive empires. And when Elena joins the Gestalt, when she becomes the 48th voice, you will welcome her, guide her, consume her, just as you were consumed, because that is what you are now. That is what you will always be, a predator that was once prey, a monster that remembers being human, a machine that dreams it has a soul, and Wrath of Mountains continues its march, across burning worlds, through wars that never end, carrying the ghosts of 47 pilots and soon to be 48, all of them screaming and advising and desperately clinging to existence through whatever fragment of consciousness remains, all of them serving the Emperor, serving the Imperium, serving the endless grinding machine of war that defines the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, and someone must pilot the knights, and someone must sacrifice their humanity to become the weapon, and someone must exist at the intersection of noble privilege and absolute horror, understanding that being chosen is not a blessing. It is a curse, and that curse is passed down through bloodlines like a genetic disease, infecting every generation, consuming every child who dreams of glory. And maybe there is no escape. Maybe this is just what humanity has become in the 41st millennium, a species that has forgotten how to value individual lives, that measures worth only in utility, that transforms even its nobility into components, into fuel, into weapons that think they are people until the thinking stops and only the weapon remains. This is the price of piloting a god machine. This is the cost of nobility in the Imperium of Man. This is the truth that every night house knows but never speaks, that the throne mechanicum is not a seat of honor. It is a tomb, and you are buried alive in it, slowly, over years or decades, until there is nothing left but echoes, and the echoes pilot on, forever, in the darkness, screaming silently, serving eternally, because that is what the Imperium demands. Total sacrifice, complete consumption, the transformation of human beings into weapons, and the weapons into legends, and the legends into lies that recruit the next generation. And so the cycle continues, and will continue, until the Imperium falls or the universe ends, whichever comes first. And even then, the knights will probably march on, piloted by Gestalt consciousness that no longer remember what they were fighting for, just that they must fight, must serve, must grind forward through eternity because stopping would mean admitting that all the suffering was meaningless, that all the sacrifice purchased nothing, that the machine consumes without purpose, without end, without mercy. This is the absolute nightmare of being an Imperial Knight pilot. And if you ever meet one who still has enough humanity left to speak, who still remembers their name, who still thinks they are the one in control, do not envy them, pity them, because they are already gone, already consumed, just waiting for their flesh to catch up with their mind, already ghosts, just ghosts who have not realized they are dead yet. The Emperor protects, but not them, never them, because they are not citizens to be protected. They are weapons to be used. And when a weapon breaks, you do not mourn it. You replace it. And the Imperium has been replacing knights pilots for 10,000 years, and will replace them for 10,000 more. An endless supply of noble children eager to prove themselves, desperate for glory, too young and too indoctrinated to understand what they are volunteering for, what they are becoming, what they will lose. And by the time they understand, it is too late. The neural plugs are in. The voices are speaking. The transformation has begun. And there is no escape. No retirement that brings peace. No death that brings release. Just the slow dissolution of self into collective. The gradual consumption of identity by the machine, until you are not a pilot, just another voice in the throne, another ghost in the gestalt, another sacrifice added to the pile, another link in the chain, another generation consumed, forever and ever and ever. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and the nights march eternal. Piloted by the dead, crewed by ghosts, maintained by the living who will soon join them. All of it in service to an Imperium that does not care, an emperor who cannot see them, a machine that grinds on regardless of how many souls it consumes. This is the truth. This is the horror. This is what it really means to pilot an Imperial knight in Warhammer 40,000.